Ever stop to think that, well, something like 93% of how people see you in a chat isn't even about the words you use?
Yeah, it's mostly how you say things. It's kind of staggering when you think about it.
Totally. Especially when you're trying hard to be, well-informed and avoid getting tangled up in misunderstandings.
Mm.
Have you ever felt like, despite choosing your words carefully, your message just got lost?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a really common frustration, I think. We spend so much time polishing our words, our sentences,
Right?
that we kind of forget about the huge impact of everything else, the nonverbal stuff.
Exactly. Well, today we're going to unpack that. We've got a really interesting source here. It's a YouTube transcript from the Learn English podcast,
Hmm.
one of their podcast and chill sessions. It's called How to Speak Like a Pro English Speaker, Beginner.
Right, and don't let that beginner tag fool you.
No way. The strategies in there are honestly gold for anyone who wants to communicate better.
Think of this as, like, your shortcut to really getting conversational dynamics. We've dug into it to pull out the practical, actionable things you can actually use.
Yeah, stuff that makes a real difference. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. Find those key techniques so you know not just what to say, but crucially, how to say it.
And how you look, how you seem while you're saying it.
Exactly. Going beyond just vocabulary lists. Okay, let's dive right in. Something we've all been there. The awkward silence.
Ah, yes. The dreaded pause, that moment where everything just stops.
It can feel really uncomfortable, can't it? That sort of pregnant pause stretching out.
It definitely can trigger that feeling of unease for a lot of people.
But the source actually gives us a different way to look at it, which I found interesting. It says silence isn't always bad.
Right. Sometimes it's needed. Thinking space.
Yeah, or like when a speaker pauses on purpose. It can build suspense, make you lean in.
Exactly. It's about the intention, isn't it? An unplanned silence feels awkward, but a deliberate pause, that can be powerful. Think about storytelling.
Or those movie villains, right? They
Yeah.
drop a line and then silence. Really amps it up.
That's it. But okay, most of our chats aren't movie scenes. So how do we avoid those accidental silences, the ones that just feel off?
Good question.
Well, the transcript points out that usually it happens because you just run out of things to say. The conversational well runs dry.
Okay.
And the solution they offer is to work on your conversation flow.
Conversation flow. I like that. Like keeping a river moving, not letting it get stuck.
Precisely. You want smooth transitions, keeping the exchange going.
So how do we do that? How do we keep that flow flowing?
Okay, so the source gives this really handy mnemonic, FORD.
FORD.
That stands for family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
Ah, right. Like a little mental checklist if you get stuck. So if things stall, I can just pick one. How's the family? What's new with work?
Yep. Doing anything fun lately? That's recreation. Got any big plans or dreams?
Got it. They're pretty safe, open topics most people can talk about.
Exactly. But just asking isn't enough. The real key is what you do with the answer. That's where pulling the thread comes in.
Pulling the thread. Okay, tell me more. What's that?
It just means you don't let a short answer kill the conversation.
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, work's fine. Don't stop there.
Right. Don't just nod.
Show some real interest. Ask a follow-up. Like, oh, good. Anything interesting happened this week? Or what part of the project are you working on now?
Ah, I see. So it's about digging a little deeper, showing you're actually curious, not just asking questions off a list.
Exactly. It encourages them to share more. Keeps the ball rolling.
Okay, makes sense. But what if we've done some FORD, pulled a few threads, but we kind of want to change the subject? Smoothly, though.
Right. You need a bridge. That's what segues are for.
Segues. Like in music.
Kinda, yeah. Smooth transitions. The source had a good example. Say you're talking about a tough work thing, and it's getting a bit heavy. You could say something like, well, speaking of things that take effort, I'm really looking forward to relaxing this weekend. Boom. You've segued into weekend plans.
Ah, clever. It connects but pivots.
Nice. And the transcript. Also
Yeah.
mentioned using open-ended questions, right?
Definitely. Questions that need more than just a yes or no. They naturally invite longer answers, give you more to work with.
Keeps the flow going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so someone's talking, they're sharing.
Mm-hmm.
How do I show them I'm really tuned in, that I'm, present?
Yeah, that's crucial. Techniques like validation are great here.
Validation.
Just simple things like saying, wow, that sounds really cool, or I totally get why you'd feel that way. Tells me you're hearing them, valuing what they say.
So acknowledging their experience.
Got it.
Got it. What about mirroring? That was another one.
Mirroring is subtly repeating or kind of reflecting back a key part of what they just said.
Not like copying them.
No, no, not mimicking.
Yeah.
It's more about showing you've processed it.
Yeah.
Like if they say, I'm just so swamped with these deadlines.
You might say, wow, sounds like a lot on your plate with those deadlines. It just confirms you heard the main point, the feeling.
Okay, like saying, I'm with you. Subtly. The source also mentioned piggybacking on a story. I like that image.
Yeah. That's when someone tells a little story, an anecdote, and you share a related one of your own.
Creates a connection.
Exactly. Builds that sense of shared experience.
Yeah. The example was about a delayed flight, right? Leading to another travel nightmare story.
Right. Those oh me too moments, they really work.
Yeah.
But what if, honestly, I don't have a similar story right then or anything much to add?
That's fine. That's where you use verbal validation and acknowledgement.
Okay.
Simple phrases. That makes sense. Wow, I can see why that would be frustrating. Uh-huh. It shows you're still tracking, still empathizing, even without adding your own anecdote.
Good tools to have. Okay, so these help keep things moving. But what if the energy just naturally dips? Or maybe we want to go back to something we talked about earlier,
Yeah, that happens. You can use bookmarking.
bookmarking. Basically circling back like, hey, earlier you mentioned you were planning a trip. Did you end up going? How was it?
Ah, shows you were paying attention before and you're still interested. Like hitting play on an earlier topic.
Exactly. But, the source also makes a really good point. Sometimes conversations just end naturally.
And that's okay?
Absolutely, it's okay to let them finish. Not every chat needs to be epic. Knowing when to gracefully end is also a skill.
True. Okay, so that's a ton of great stuff on the verbal side. But we started by talking about that huge nonverbal piece. Let's get into that. The power of what we don't say.
Yeah, this is where it gets really fascinating. That 93% number, it comes from Dr. Albert Morabian's research back in the day.
Right.
And it breaks down roughly to tone of voice being about 38% of the impact, and body language, facial expressions, being up a huge 55%.
Wow, 55% just from body language and face.
Now, it's important to remember, his studies are specifically about communicating feelings and attitudes, like whether you like or dislike something or someone. But the general point is solid. Nonverbals carry massive weight.
Definitely. Like saying, I'm fine. Through gritted teeth with your arms crossed, the words say one thing.
But everything else screams something different.
Exactly. So being aware is, well, critical.
So what are the key cues the transcript highlights? Facial expressions.
Yep, starts there. We all know a smile usually means happy, a frown sad. That's pretty universal.
But it goes deeper, right? It mentioned micro expressions.
Ah, yes, microexpressions. They're super quick, like split-second, involuntary facial movements.
Involuntary.
Yeah, they flash across your face before your brain can kind of censor them. They often reveal a hidden or suppressed emotion.
Like in spy movies, detecting lies.
Well, it's used that way in fiction. In reality, it's more subtle. Maybe a tiny tightening of the lips showing anger someone's trying to hide, or a quick flicker of wide eyes showing surprise they didn't expect.
Recognizing them takes practice, a lot of observation. It's not easy.
Okay, so that's a whole other level beyond just smiling or frowning. What about body language? Crossed arms meaning closed off.
That's the classic interpretation, yeah. And often, it's right. Leaning back can sometimes signal discomfort or maybe disinterest.
Whereas leaning in shows you're engaged.
Generally, yes. Leaning in, having an open posture, good eye contact, these usually read as attentive, confident, interested.
So if I'm in a meeting concentrating hard, maybe I cross my arms without thinking. I could be sending the wrong signal, like I'm not open to ideas.
It's possible, yeah. That's why self-awareness is the first step. Knowing your own sort of default posture, then you can adjust if needed.
Makes sense. What about smaller things? Gestures, nodding.
Nodding is huge. Simple nod says, I'm listening, keep going. Very important. Hand gestures, too, they can add energy, emphasize points.
But not too much, right?
Exactly. Moderation is key. You don't want to be, like, flailing around distractingly, just natural emphasis.
Engaged, but not distracting. Got it. Okay, then there's the voice itself, tone and pace. These feel huge, too.
Well, they absolutely are. Your tone conveys so much emotion, seriousness, sarcasm, excitement, annoyance, all of it.
And the pace. How fast or slow you talk.
Yep. Talking really fast can make you seem nervous, maybe rushed. Too slow, and you might sound bored or unsure.
I definitely speed up when I'm nervous. The source said, try slowing down deliberately. For confidence.
That's the advice, yeah. Slowing down a bit can make you sound more measured, more confident, and it helps clarity, too. People can actually follow you.
Good tip. Okay, but what about when things clash? Someone's saying something positive, but their body language looks negative, like the smile with crossed arms example.
Right, the mixed signals. How do you read that?
Context, right. You can't just isolate one thing.
Exactly. That's crucial. Crossed arms might mean they're closed off, or they might just be cold, or maybe it's just how they sit.
You need the whole picture.
You need the whole picture.
Yeah.
Their tone, their face, the situation, everything together, not just one single cue.
So becoming a better communicator means getting better at observing all this stuff. Yeah. Holistically.
Absolutely. It means really paying attention. Not just what people say, but how they say it, how they sit, how they move.
And the transcript stress checking if the words match the behavior.
Yes. That mismatch, I'm fine,
Oh.
while looking super tense, that's often a big clue. A red flag that maybe something else is going on under the surface.
And the advice was to maybe check in gently, not like you look tense.
Right. A gentle, everything okay might be better, more empathetic.
Good point. And finally, the source mentioned cultural differences. That seems really important.
Hugely important. What's normal, non-verbally in one culture can be completely different in another. Eye contact is a classic example.
Right. Too much is aggressive in some places, too little is disrespectful in others.
Precisely. So being aware of that, especially if you're interacting with people from different backgrounds, is vital to avoid misunderstandings.
Definitely need that awareness in diverse settings. Be mindful of your signals and how they might land.
It's all about clear, respectful communication.
Wow. Okay. This has been really illuminating. So many layers to conversation. Before we finish up, let's quickly recap some of those key phrases the source gave us for sounding more confident. We had awkward silence,
That uncomfortable gap,
essay,
the smooth topic change, that bridge,
mirroring,
reflecting back to show you're listening,
body language,
all the nonverbal stuff, posture, gestures,
and facial expression.
what your face is showing.
Yeah.
Now, the source ended with two really great questions for the listener. I think they're good for all of us to think about.
Okay, what were they?
First, what part of conversation do you struggle with most? Is it starting it, keeping it going, or ending it gracefully?
Good question. And the second?
What's one thing you are going to practice more? Maybe your tone of voice, your facial expressions, or maybe using that FORD method we talked about.
Those are really practical reflection points. Thinking back on our chat, the main ways to keep things flowing seem to be using FORD as a base.
Right. Having those topics ready.
Using segues for smooth shifts, pulling the thread on answer.
Asking those follow-up questions.
Mirroring to show engagement, and maybe sharing a related story, that piggybacking idea.
Exactly. And remembering, importantly, that silence isn't always the enemy.
Right? Sometimes it's just a pause, a breath.
And then, of course, there's the massive impact of all the nonverbal stuff. Being aware of your own cues and learning to read others better.
It really boils down to mindful communication, doesn't it? Paying attention to the whole picture, words and actions.
That's how you build stronger connections, deeper understanding. Absolutely.
Well, this has been fantastic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into really communicating effectively.
My pleasure. Always fascinating stuff.
And for you listening, here's a final thought to take away. In your next conversation, maybe just try to consciously notice one specific nonverbal cue in the other person.
Could be anything. Eye contact, posture, hand gestures.
Yeah. Just watch it. See how it maybe influences the interaction. And then maybe, just maybe, take a second to think about your own signals. How might you be coming across?
It's a continuous learning process, this
Oh,
communication thing.
yeah.
Always more to discover.